Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, your friendly neighborhood moviegoer, John L., and I'm back at it again with another set of these movies that I've watched so far in the month of April. So, today we're towards the tail end of the month of April. I've actually haven't watched many movies this month due to my work schedule and uh, just how tired my body's felt. To be quite honest with y'all, but at the end of the day, I have tried to keep up, and I've watched a few films this month, so I want to talk about those films. So first things first, if you guys weren't aware, I have definitely changed the format of the podcast going forward. I will be reviewing multiple films in one recording. So we'll be covering another, if I am not mistaken, 4 films this particular time as well. So that's going to be my goal, 4 films per recording now going forward. Please, as always, continue to listen. Thank you for your support from around the globe. It does mean a lot to me. But let's get into it, folks. Let's get into it. So, as per the calendar, because I always mark it on my calendar, when I watch movies, what days, what times, and things of that nature. Back on April 15th was the first movie I saw this month in April, because I canceled a ton of movies just off of how I felt physically, how busy my work schedule was, and things of that nature. April 15th, I saw the Super Mario Brothers movie in Dolby at my local AMC. And to say, folks, that this movie was nothing less or short of entertaining is an understatement, folks. This movie was an hour and 32 minutes. The synopsis is as follows. With help from Princess Peach, Mario gets ready to square off against the all-powerful Bowser to stop his plans from conquering the world. Simple as that. This movie is for the Nintendo Super Mario Brothers loving folks and consumers and movie watchers and video game players of the world. This movie is not intended to be some sort of an Oscar-winning movie. This movie was never intended to be something that had this over-expanding, overarching storyline. The Super Mario Brothers games have never been games that have had very deep and or intricate stories. Super Mario Brothers games have always just been fun to play. You go from beginning to end, Easter eggs, killing the Koopas, trying to defeat Bowser, saving the princess, finding friends along the way. That's always been the Mario way. And that is exactly what the movie brought to us as fans. And the fans and the people have spoken, right? As per Rotten Tomatoes, the audience scored 10,000 plus verified fans in the audience. 96% positive, folks. 96% positive. 248 movie reviewers have it at a 59%. The critics can go to hell with this particular movie. They really, really can. Because it's a kid and family comedy animated movie made for the video game loving or Mario loving fan. This isn't supposed to be top shelf cinema. This is supposed to be a fun time at the movie theater, and this is exactly what this movie was, bar none. Go out, watch the Super Mario Brothers movie, continue to add to its powerful reign right now. In the space right now in the US box office, it's at 353.2 million. From what I know, it's almost at $1 billion worldwide in the cinemas and across the globe. So continue to add to that, folks, because this movie is just so fun. It's a fun time at the movie theaters. Take your kids with you. If you've ever played Mario from 8-bit NES days to Super Nintendo days, N64, the freaking GameCube, to the Wii, the Wii U, now where we're at. I'm staring at my freaking Switch right now and whatnot. Super Mario Brothers is just an unbelievably fun movie, folks. It's very enjoyable. Big props to Chris Pratt for voicing Mario. Anya Taylor-Joy as Princess Peach was great. Charlie Day did a great job as Luigi. Jack Black as Bowser is king. Peaches. Jack Black did a tremendous job with that particular song and his rendition and just playing Bowser. That was amazing. Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong was cool too, man. Keegan-Michael Key did a hell of a job with the voicing Toad. Mario, such a great computer animated film. An hour and 32 minutes, folks. You won't be disappointed. It's just a fun time at the movie theater. Forget the critic drivel. It is not made for top shelf high art. It is not that. It's just a fun time at the movies. Enjoy it because that's what it's made for. The Super Mario Brothers movie. That is my take. On to the next one. So, April 17th, which is a Monday. Last Monday, as a matter of fact. I did a double feature. I said to myself, I wanted to watch this movie, Beau is Afraid. New A24 film, directed by Ari Aster. Because the trailer spoke to me, and I said to myself, man, this seems like a wild ride. Right? This seems like a movie that's up my alley. I'm going to step into the arena at the Rotten Tomatoes sector of this real quick. So as of right now, the critics have it at a 69. The audience scores at 72. So more or less even, right? This movie is 3 hours long, folks. I'm gonna come out on the beginning end of this and tell you, do I recommend this film? Absolutely not. No, I don't recommend Beau is Afraid. The reason as to why I don't recommend Beau is Afraid is because Beau is Afraid is a 3-hour film that is a mind fuck and a conundrum in which you will get lost in. And I can't speak for everybody. Let me not speak for everybody. Let's speak for myself. There are parts in the film where I said to myself, okay, I'm starting to get it. By the third act, okay, so by the end of the second act, I said to myself, okay, I get this. I like this. The third act undid everything that the first 2 acts did for this film for me. The third act completely screwed up how I felt about this movie. It made me do a complete 180. This movie is as anxiety-inducing as the point of view of the main character that we are viewing this movie through. This is not a shot and or slander against folks who suffer from anxiety, because I can only imagine what people with real anxiety go through. But the over-the-topness of everything in this movie, which other people in my theater found funny, comedic, I didn't find comedic at all. I was trying to make sense of shit that made no sense. Some people think that this film is fantastic. I think that this film is very self-indulgent. I think that Ari Aster made this film for him and people like him who understand his level of comedic and his level of comedic expression and or his artistic sensibility, let's call it that, right? No, absolutely not. For him to be given $35 million of a budget to create a film that was 3 hours long, for it to be this, what we got, or what I got, I'm speaking for myself, absolutely not. No way. I went into this movie wanting to love this movie. I left this movie asking myself, what the fuck did I just watch? What the fuck did I just watch? And I felt like I was missing something, right? Like there are people who were like I said, people who were laughing, people who who were making this movie out to be more of a comedy or a dark comedy, right? Let's break this down for a bit. The this here says comedy, drama, horror, right? That's how it's depicted within genre, right? The movie info or the synopsis gives you a paranoid man embarks on an epic odyssey to get home to his mother in this bold and ingeniously depraved new film from writer-director Ari Aster, right? Not only is the man paranoid, but he suffers from anxiety. But at the same time, he creates his own world in which we don't necessarily know what's real and what's not real, right? Now, we get the points of like over the top shit that can't be real, right? AKA the person who or the figure of who is the father of Beau in this sense by the end of this movie, right? That shit wasn't real. How he interacted with his with the people in his broken down community, that to me was not real. There was so much shit in this movie that I just couldn't, that was so far-fetched and not believable, that it made me think, okay, maybe this is the point of the movie, to make people understand that someone who is very paranoid and has anxiety, has a very far-fetched, unreal perspective of how the real world works and or how they perceive it. But then to me it was like, but wait a minute, there were so many moments in the movie where it was like they felt grounded, but then they immediately went to the far-fetched shit, and it was like, all right, so this is really a mismatch of what's going on. But at the same time, to me, that's where I understood it. I was like, okay, so this person has anxiety, they're paranoid, it makes sense for them to have this mismatch. But then to me it was like, it wasn't even anxiety inducing. It was more of the, if this is how a person really lives, if this is someone's real perspective, this high end imaginative sensibility to escape the real world, but then at the same time, when the real world does take effect, it's so short lived. It's like, I don't even, like, for me, I would have landed on, man, I feel sad for this person, but like the way that Ari Aster wrote this and the way he breathed life into it, it didn't make me feel bad and or sad for this person. It was just more or less like, what the fuck, dude? Like, you're out here, you're getting help. There's a therapist part in this. You're out here, you're getting help. You have a therapist. You're on all this fucking medication, but yet you're still fucked. So what does that say, right? So what does that say? And I was like, oh, John Elliott, how dare you say something like that about people with anxiety? I'm not saying that about people with anxiety. I'm saying that about this character written by Ari Aster. Like, dude, what the fuck are you trying to say? Like, I'm sure that there are people in the world who live with paranoia and anxiety who don't even remotely reflect this sort of this sort of behavior. So, but you're giving us this particular depiction, I guess from a fictional standpoint, right? Just for the sake of making a movie, but it's like, make it make sense though, right? The story is, he's paranoid, he's neurotic, he's anxiety filled, he has this shitty ass relationship with his mother. But for the first 2 acts of the movie, we're made to believe that his mother either 1 didn't exist or 2 was dead. Then by the end of it, she turns out to be this villainous rich lady who basically exiled him in some way or fashion. And then he was by the end of it all, I don't know, this is my interpretation of it, by the end of it all, it was more of he was then faced with the court of public opinion. It was like he was on trial for how shitty of a son he was to his mother. And it's like, how, and then for me, while watching this, he's sitting in a boat in this man-made, I don't know, let's call it a dam, right? But it was also, let's call it the center of a dam. But at the same time, this particular center of a dam reflects this audience looking down upon him, like the scene in Gladiator in the days of the Colosseum, right? He was the one being spectated on, and he was the main focal point about how shitty of a son he was and how bad of a son he was to his mother, but his mother treated him like complete garbage. And it's like, how did we get from the beginning of this movie where we're coming to understand that this man lives with all these social anxieties and mental hurdles that he goes through this tale, this story of him making all these things up in his head to get through his day to day, to then end up where this all began, I guess. This all started or stems from his relationship with his shitty ass relationship with his mother. And then it's like he still doesn't want to answer for it. And I got left with, for movie creators, for content creators, for filmmakers and stuff like that, this is great because it's like, well, damn, I can actually get somebody to give me enough money to fund my film, no matter what kind of a film it is, and I can actually have it put out wide into theaters without it necessarily making any sense. And to me, that yet again, this is my perspective. This movie made no sense. The grotesque shit that he had here with the horror and whatnot, and his I guess Ari Aster's freaking fascination with penises or whatever the case is, and big balls. I don't know. That left me kind of like, what the fuck? And then like people, like he thought that the world around him was basically controlled by people who worked for his mother, that everyone around him who had anything to do with trying to help him ultimately were trying to help him because his mother was trying to control him. And to me, I was like, yeah, I don't feel bad for you, bro. You have a controlling ass mom. Learn how to deal with that shit. But then it's really to the specter of, well, maybe all that control is what led to all this paranoia and anxiety. You might be absolutely right to give you that perspective, but at the end of the day, the way that Ari Aster made it feel, it's like, it's not real perspective. He's still making up all this shit in his head to do what exactly? Make himself feel better? I mean, he looks like complete garbage from a physical standpoint, right? He doesn't even take care of himself, and now he's being pumped full of drugs to try to maintain some sort of mental stability when he's still mentally unstable. So it didn't make any sense to me. You know what I'm saying? And it's, I can see the different perspectives, like from an artistic value standpoint, the story that was being trying to be told through all this and whatnot, the different themes and all of it, and it's like, yeah, but it didn't add up. You're throwing too much at the wall for anything to mean anything in this movie. And that's just my take on it. That's Beau is Afraid in a nutshell for me. Sorry, folks. I went on a tangent there, but that's that's my take with this. Yet again, 3 hours. I would not want to spend in a theater watching this again. Maybe sometime down the road, maybe another few years from now, I'll probably watch this at home sometime to see if I can get a different perspective of it. But for right now, no way. No way. It's just too much. It's too much. It's sensory overload. Visually, auditorily, mentally, thematically. No, absolutely not. Not a recommendation. That was the first movie I saw on Monday. And then later on that night, I went to go see a new anime film called Suzume at my Alamo Draft House. And I love the fact that I went to go watch this film after Beau is Afraid, because it was a complete and utter palate cleanser. This is fantasy. Suzume is fantasy, anime, and imagination done in a light where you can understand that it's all fictional and it doesn't come from some sort of a scatterbrained train of thought. This is anime. You know it's fictional. It's animation. It's Japanese, super fantastical filmmaking at its finest. Is Suzume. The story is easy to follow. It is based in its own pathos and mythos, where you have this young girl by the name of Suzume, who is basically going through this adventure trying to save Japan ultimately. Here's a synopsis. 17-year-old Suzume's journey begins in a quiet town of Kyushu, when she encounters a young man who tells her, "I'm looking for a door." What Suzume finds is a single weathered door standing upright in the midst of ruins, as though it was shielded from whatever catastrophe struck. Seemingly drawn by its power, Suzume reaches for the knob. Doors begin to open, one after another, all across Japan, unleashing destruction upon any who are near. This destruction that is being unleashed after all these doors open are all equivalent to natural disasters, be it earthquakes, tsunamis, things of that nature, right? These doors are basically the passageways of this big mythical worm, that once this worm escapes through these doors is when these natural disasters start to occur, right? So Suzume must close these portals. These doors are portals, right? She must close these portals to prevent further disaster. The stars, the sunset, the morning sky. Within that realm, it was as though all time had melted together in the sky, guided by these mysterious doors. Suzume's journey to close these doors is about to begin. She, Suzume, embarks on this journey with this young man that she meets on the road, whose name is Sota. And Sota is basically the key holder. He is the one who's supposed to be guarding these doors and keeping these doors closed, so that he doesn't let this giant worm escape these doors through these realms, so that these natural disasters don't happen all over the Isle of Japan. Like I said, folks, it's super fantastical. It's an anime. This is something that you can suspend your disbelief for, right? And I thought it was very well done. I thought the animation was tremendous. The sound design was amazing, and the voice acting was great. I watched this subtitled because I don't like dubs, never have, and this was the perfect movie to bookend my day, because the movie I had seen earlier was just, to me, a clusterfuck of God knows what it was. I recommend Suzume to folks. I think that this is a very easy story to follow, and the super fantastical part of Suzume just leads to a great understanding of imagination and how you can use you can say, let's say, mythical creations of large monsters, and tie them to real world things like natural disasters and things of that nature, and still be engulfed in this world where you understand, oh, this cat, the Daijin, he's more of a totem, who's more a representation of something that either helps to lock and or unlock, or keep these particular monsters quelled in their realm, so that they don't get unleashed or whatever. So there's so many different things that are of mythical nature, right? But at the same time are represented in the real world as symbols in the real world, which have very interesting but linear dynamics. But you like to see the fantastical in the animation, well, at least for me, I like to see the fantastical in the animation just to understand where's like the imagination and the thought process that was put into this by the writer, um, who and director, uh, Makoto Shinkai. It was just it was something different. It was something cool. It was something that, you know, is in line with the kind of anime that I've seen throughout my lifetime. Right? Some anime is weird. Some anime is transcending. Some anime, um, it has beautiful storytelling in it. Some anime just has very beautiful art in it. And in this, it kind of brought all that stuff together. Beautiful storytelling, beautiful animation, great voice acting, and just a representation of the world today, how things occur, uh, how or why things are caused, right, quote unquote, in this world created uh, by Shinkai, and at the same time how they correlate to real life stuff, or how they correlate to mythical stuff, you know, which just lets the imagination go wild, but in a very surface and fun way, right? Not in a very anxiety inducing and fucked up way. So I'll leave it at that. But what did the Rotten Tomatoes score say? How are the people and the critics liking this? Well, the critics have spoken. This is certified fresh. It's a 95% critic rating with 104 reviews, and the audience score is even better at 1,000 plus verified ratings through Rotten Tomatoes. Customers and audience score reviewers is at a 98%. So Suzume, do I recommend it? Hell yeah! 2 hours 2 minutes. Awesome time at the movie theaters. If you wanna watch it dubbed, watch it dubbed. But I watched it subtitled, and I thought that the fantastical and mythical elements of the movie were super cool, and creative, and very lighthearted, which was what made watching this movie a great experience. So Suzume, go out, watch that, folks. Last movie I'll talk about here was a movie that I watched this last Saturday on the 22nd of April. Chevalier. Chevalier was a movie I was interested in from the time I watched the first trailer back in December. Why? I love timepiece movies. Stuff that's of the Victorian age, the Renaissance age. This was talking about the during the period of the French Revolution. I was sunk in once I saw the trailer. This is the synopsis, right? Inspired by the incredible true story of composer Joseph Bologna, Chevalier de Saint Georges, the illegitimate son of an African slave and a French plantation owner, Bologna, played by Kelvin Harrison Jr., rises to improbable heights in French society as a celebrated violinist, composer, and fencer, complete with an ill-fated love affair and a falling out with Marie Antoinette and her court. Folks, when I tell you that this movie was everything I expected it to be, and I loved it at the same time, was nothing short of, it met my expectations, it made me happy, it was a good movie going experience, and is exactly what I was looking for. Some films don't do that. Like last year, I watched a film, Peter Dinklage was in it, where he played Cyrano. There you go, Cyrano, right? And I expected to love Cyrano because I love the book of Cyrano de Bergerac and everything else in between, the play, and the movie kind of fell flat for me. Fell flat to me, and now this year watching Chevalier, this was just good. It was just so good. At the end of the day, this is a Searchlight Pictures movie under the greater scope of 20th Century Studios under the guise of Disney. It was released this past Friday, April 21st. It's an hour and 47 minutes long. It was starring Kelvin Harrison Jr. as Joseph Bologna. Samara Weaving was Mary Josephine. Lucy Boynton played Marie Antoinette. Ronke uh, Adeko Luejo played Nanon, which was the mother of Joseph of Bologna. Martin Sokas played Montalembert. Man, what a villain that dude played. Ruthless son of a bitch. And Alex Fitzallen. Yeah. Alex Fitzallen played Philippe, who was a good friend of Joseph Bologna, and also a French revolutionary. I thought that the movie from beginning to end had a very cohesive and linear story. It showed you how much of a violin virtuoso and fencing virtuoso Joseph Bologna was, and how beloved he became in the eyes of Marie Antoinette, who was the Queen of France at that point in time, and how she led him to, or she bestowed upon him the title of Chevalier of Saint George, or Saint George's, however you want to say it, things of that nature. But then he became sort of a party trick, as it's depicted in the movie and in the trailer. And he was not necessarily respected due to the color of his skin, and then his evolved beliefs in how the French people were being treated at that time, and how he was then directly treated at that time, and people of his ilk were treated at that time, and how they were treated as less than, and things of that nature. We all know the unfortunate truths of how people of darker complexion have been treated throughout the world, not only in the U.S. but throughout the world, throughout world history and things of that nature. And this movie depicted that within its own merits. But it showed Joseph Bologna rising above that and leading a charge within the French Revolution years. He led the first black infantry in the French arm within the French Revolution. Before the years of Napoleon Bonaparte, when monarchy took over again. After the years when Napoleon took over France in the early 1800s, the records or the history of Joseph Bologna were basically done away with and eradicated because Napoleon didn't believe that people should know anything about this man. So this movie was created to heighten the narrative and the education that this man existed. Not that these necessary events happened verbatim, but more of the sense that more of the sense of people of African descent participated in revolutionary times in other countries around the world, and he was a very important figure during those times, and he did things during those times that nobody would have thought that a person of his ilk could do. But obviously we all know that that's people's belief in that particular regard is just a bunch of bullshit, and any sort of a human being, no matter what color, race, creed, ethnicity you are, can do whatever the hell they put their minds to. So it is what it is in that regard. But I thought that the acting in this film was of great merit, because everything was believable yet dramatized in a way where it was fun and not overly done in that sense. And then the failed relationship that the adulterous relationship that he had with the woman who eventually bore his child, but that child was killed instantly after birth due to the color of the child, the baby's skin, and things of that nature. It was just one of those things in the movie that I thought to myself, and I was like, yeah, that would happen. I would imagine that would happen. Unfortunately, right? But within the sense of the movie, it was like it made for a more purposeful sense of who Joseph Bologna became to the revolutionary movement in France at that time. So I thought that was very well put together. Like I said, the story was well put together. It was very well written, in my estimation, and the way that they were able to put it together with all the different performances was top notch. I go out and recommend this movie. It is a good time in the movie theater, folks. These movies are very much missed in theaters, I think, in my belief. This is the second movie this year that was more or less like a timepiece to me. The first movie that I watched earlier this year, Emily, which was based in British Victorian times, so the 1800s, and that movie to me was very good as well. Even though they belong to different times, but they were both very well done. I love these timepiece movies and things of that nature. Can't talk highly enough about this movie Chevalier. Go out and see it. Chevalier, however you actually say the word. Rotten Tomatoes. Let's talk about it. It is certified fresh. The critics like Chevalier. 80%, 97 reviews, certified fresh. The audience score at 100 plus verified ratings. I am one of those ratings. 98% positive for Chevalier so far over the opening weekend. Folks, go out and see Chevalier. However you want to call it. It was a dope movie to watch. I am going to be looking out for more films where Kelvin Harrison Jr. Is acting in it, because I thought that he was amazing as Joseph Bologna. So definitely looking forward to watching this, watching more of his work in the future. So anyway, folks, that's my 4 films for this roundup. I have some more films to watch this coming week. Matter of fact, tomorrow night I am watching Air, the Ben Affleck directed and starring movie about the making of the Air Jordan sneaker. And then on Friday at 3 p.m. I am watching Sisu, the movie produced by those fine folks who have helped produce all those different John Wick films. It is a Finnish background and things of that nature. So Sisu will be watched. It is going to be a glorious yet violent film that I'll be looking forward to on Friday. And then I gotta make my way around to watching some other films that I wanted to watch this month. Hopefully I get to watch Mafia Mama. I just wanted to watch it. The trailers were super cool for it. And also, I don't know if I'll end up watching any of the horror stuff, man, to be quite honest. This early in the year, the horror has really tapped me out. At this point, I didn't feel like there was going to be that much horror in movie theaters this year, but because they're cheap to make. We've been inundated with a lot of horror movies in the theaters. Evil Dead Rise, Renfield, which is more gore than horror, was another movie that came out this month that I was gonna go see, but I got turned off to it and stuff like that. Polite Society, I might go out and watch that. So keep it on tap, folks, to see as to what the next summer films it is that I go and review are. Look out for those podcasts coming to you sooner rather than later. As always, folks, thank you very much for listening to the pod. You are always very much appreciated for the support across the globe. But this has been your friendly neighborhood moviegoer, John L., signing out. Until next time, be good to one another, take care of yourselves, and stay safe out there, folks. We live in a very, very harsh world. But we can always find that silver lining, one day at a time. Peace.